Today is a CBS 21 weather warn day. Parts of central PA could see some severe flooding with remnants of Ida moving through our area. Thanks for joining us at noon. I'm Candace Scalise. Throughout this newscast, we're going to tell you what to expect and what you need to know to stay safe during these storms. We have live team coverage standing by. We're going to hear from Talia Kirkland in just a moment. And of course, Michael Gorsigner, where it looks like it is raining pretty hard where he is right now. First, we want to check in with meteorologist Steve Knight to see what the latest is. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, this heavy rain just continues, Candace, and not letting up anytime soon. Let's get you right to first warning radar as we continue to see these bands of heavy rain. Of course, all this driven by the remnants of Ida, and we're pretty much the bullseye here in central Pennsylvania. Want to focus in a little bit tighter here into York County, and once you get into western portions of Lancaster County, specifically this area right in here. I mean, it is really coming down in those areas in both York and Lancaster counties, and still a ways to go. If you look off to our south, there's still plenty of rain that's working its way up through Virginia. The other thing that's caught our eye here today is just how far north a lot of this rain has made it, and this will play a role in terms of the Susquehanna River. Remember, all of this rain to our north is going to make its way down through the Harrisburg region, eventually past Marietta, and all of us will eventually be dealing with all of that rainwater that's up to the north as it makes its way through our area. Now, here's the Doppler accumulated rainfall, and these totals have really started to add up in certain spots, particularly in York County. Now we're seeing over 3 inches of rain. We've seen similar amounts in western portions of Cumberland County and also in the northern portions of Franklin County. Here are your this is on top of what's already fallen here, folks. And our model is still picking up on some areas like Harrisburg, 4 more inches to go. Corryville, southern Lancaster County with 5 more inches of rain to go. Swatara Creek near Middletown. Look, all of our area creeks, the smaller tributaries at this point, are forecast to crest up above flood stage, but the Swatara near Middletown is forecast to crest at 14.7. Remember, flood stage there is 11 feet. That will happen tomorrow. Then we'll keep an eye on the Susquehanna for Friday. As of right now, minor flooding is forecast on the Susquehanna at Marietta. Right now, though, at least in Harrisburg, the Susquehanna is forecast to crest below flood stage. But stay tuned, folks. That could change. Those numbers could fluctuate quite a bit here over the next 24 hours or so. The good news, if there's any good news, dry days both tomorrow and Friday, and pretty pleasant too, with temperatures in the 70s. Candace?
An area that we are keeping an eye on right now is the Yellow Breeches Creek. That is where we find our Talia Kirkland live this afternoon. Talia, what are you seeing right now? How are things looking?
Good afternoon, Candace. Candace, if you recall earlier this morning, the rain was coming down lightly. Now it has really picked up, and we are on hour 12 of rainfall. It started about 1 a.m., and it is coming down harder now. If you look over here at this creek, this is really cause for concern right now because we're anticipating 4 to 6 inches, and that is a lot. We're going to take you over to a homeowner who is live with me. Look at this yard that I'm stepping in. The yard is really saturated with a ton of water. I'm going to take you over to Rob. Rob's house literally sits right on this creek, and that is a cause for concern right now. Tell me, Rob, how did you prepare your home this afternoon?
Starting yesterday and actually the day before, we just got things out of the basement, moved things, just start mentally preparing for what may have to move from the first floor, and you just do what you can. And fortunately, we had a lot of notice.
You told me you've lived here for about 20 years, so you're kind of used to this. So you prepare for the worst, essentially.
Oh, absolutely. Right now, we are prepared for the worst. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case. I'm getting cautiously optimistic, but I still want to make sure nothing of value is lost, so I'll move things.
You move things out of that basement.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Rob, I am hoping for the best for your house right now. I'm hoping that everything works out. But guys, as I said, if you look over at that creek, it sits so close to his home, and that's really a cause for concern as we're expected to see 4 to 6 inches here today, a 24-hour rain event. Live here in Harrisburg, Talia Kirkland, CBS 21 News.
Well, the rain is here in full force, and it's bringing the flooding in its wake. We're taking you live to York County, feeling the brunt of this storm on this CBS 21 Weather Warn Day. Some similar scenes in Harrisburg. This is a live look at Cameron Street. Is it Cameron Street? Not visible right there. So much rain continues to pour into Dauphin County. So how long can we expect this rain to last? It's moving fast, but the flooding just beginning as the remnants of Ida continue to dump waves of rain across the region. Good evening, everybody. I'm Joel D. Smith. We've got crews all over our area tracking the showers and the flooding, all those prone areas. We're going to take a look at them. But right now, we're starting with Chief Meteorologist Tom Russell, getting us ready for what's already happened, but really what's next too.
Well, the good news is, Joel D., we finally see the back edge, the light at the end of the tunnel, but we're not done with this yet. Let me go ahead and show you the flash flood warning here. Oh, we're going to go ahead and show you some video here. This is in Hershey, and you know those ball fields that are literally right next to the high school and the middle school flooding. We've seen this before in these big events, so yep, there's flooding at Hershey and that baseball field underwater. The good news here is this will drain pretty quickly as the rain lets up tomorrow, but then of course there's the cleanup and the damage. Let's get back to the flash flood warnings. That's the area shaded in red there, and then we have a watch that's in yellow. So those are the two active warnings at this point. Let me give you the good news here because as I mentioned, we do kind of see the back edge of the storms here just now approaching into Franklin County. So some of the heaviest rain still out ahead of it, but we're starting to see the back edge. Let me widen out and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here as you see some heavy rain still pushing into Franklin County, but notice there's a couple of areas. Let me take the clouds away and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's some pockets here that are actually a little bit drier than the rest of us. So we're not finished with the rain, but there are some areas in the western counties that are starting to improve. Still very heavy rain here through York and Lancaster. This is going to exacerbate a flooding problem that we've already got ongoing. Here's your futurecast. Follow along here because it starts to taper off in our western counties by 7, 8 o'clock here. Franklin County's in the clear. By 8, 9 o'clock, Harrisburg is in the clear. By 9 and 10 o'clock, most of the area is clear of any rain. So that is good news. We finally see the ending here. Still, though, between now and then, we could lay down another inch or two, maybe 3 in a couple of spots to the east, but all of this will be moving off to the east and getting out of our area. There is still that severe weather risk. I don't think it's real high, but we've seen a couple of areas, especially just to our southeast in Maryland, see that risk of a tornado. So that is still there in our southeast counties. But we do see this rain tapering off through mid-evening. But even after the rain ends, the flood threat continues. Remember, the creeks are still rising. That road might be washed out. Don't take this stuff for granted. Know that we are still under a flood warning for a lot of areas into tomorrow. Joel D., we'll send it back over to you.
All right, Tom. Yeah, parts of York County were under that tornado warning earlier. That cleared, but there's still plenty of flooding. So let's go live to Michael Gorsinger to check out conditions right now. Michael.
Joel D., definitely the worst of the conditions that we've seen all day long in about the last half hour, and that's causing a bunch of water rescues. In fact, right along Frysville Road, right here, just down the street, a man was just rescued after being stuck. He actually went by this barricade and ended up getting stuck in the water, and that proving the case that you should not pass these road closed signs. But as you can see, the water right here, that gives you an idea just about how intense this water is coming down in the last 45 minutes or so. It's literally has taken the water down the street, and the cone that was blocking the road now is actually way down here. So you can just tell the current of water that's going down towards Croots Creek. Now, the Croots Creek is an area that floods a lot, and right at the basin of Frysville Road, right at the creek, is Prince Mobile Home. We're being told that there are some evacuations that could be coming in the very near future. At this point, they hope to be able to get the people out via vehicles. However, it's gotten bad in the past where they've had to get them out by boat. Again, Prince Mobile Home could be being evacuated in a very short amount of time. And just finally, this is Croots Creek behind me here. I just talked to a neighbor who says that is not normal. In fact, that normally Croots Creek is actually on the other side of that tree. This water overtaking a bunch of the backyards, causing a lot of problems. So keep in mind, do not pass barricades like that. Again, a water rescue man rescued safely. However, it took an intense amount of first responders to get that man out of his vehicle, which was stuck after he did pass that barricade. Certainly a lot of rain in the last 45 minutes to an hour, causing a bunch of dire situations here in York County. That's the very latest from here in York County. Joel D., back to you.
Yeah, so we saw that. You're saying that maybe the worst is over there for the stuff coming down, but it means the drainage still continues for a while.
Yeah, and you see it there. The flooding's going to continue. So the rain can end, but that water's still got to go somewhere. And what happens in that situation, these back roads, maybe the shoulder is washed out. And you think you can go around something, all of a sudden there's no road underneath your car.
Right, and then those folks have to take care of you, and they're not taking care of somebody else they might need as well.
Not worth it. Just turn around, don't drown.
Right, so we've been covering this flooding plaguing parts of Harrisburg area as well. So we know for weeks it's been a trouble. They tried to drain some of the stuff yesterday. We saw that. Let's see if it all worked out. Samantha York is on Cameron Street. Samantha, what are you seeing?
Joel D, good evening. Yeah, we're along Cameron Street right now, street being the operative word because it's looking a little bit more like a waterfront if you ask me. And believe it or not, we're right now currently on the sidewalk. You can see this car actually going past the barricades, which you were just talking about how we're not supposed to be doing. And you can just see that water pooling around the car as they continue on past us. Just looking at some of the depth of this water, this is about 3 feet, I would say, close to it. It's about up to my hip length, and you can see just how far it went underneath there. And just to give you some more perspective, over here you can see our car is parked. When we parked this about 30 minutes ago, the water was not up that far, but just coming down this way when we were here for about 2 hours. Excuse me, what? What was that? No, you can't. You really should be turning around. That's what PennDOT says. They advise you to turn around because you could get ticketed if you do this. All right, so yep, you can see him. He's going to be backing up on this road instead of going straight forward, just because you can see how deep that water is around him. He's reversing. Sir, you may want to be turning up this way because I'm not sure that he can get too far back with the truck there. But this is kind of the scene that we've been seeing all day long. This flooding water is continuing to get higher and higher as the day progresses. Definitely, as we were talking about before, PennDOT and Pennsylvania State Police are urging people not to drive through these high waters. It's not only a risk to you, it's also a risk to first responders that then have to respond to you. So we'll continue to cover this. Fortunately, this gentleman is getting off of this roadway, off of Cameron Street, so he can hopefully get back to some safe ground, and we'll continue to follow this for you, but I'll send it back to you, Joel D.
Where was that person trying to go? I'm glad you get him in a safer direction, but where was he trying to go? Did he tell you where he wanted to go?
I'm not sure. He was trying to go down this way, Joel D. He was trying to go through Cameron Street, which, as you can see, all barricades. We have flashing lights. And if you come back over looking this way, they do have trucks on the end of Cameron Street directing traffic to go around. They have bright yellow arrows telling you not to go this way. So they definitely do have the signage up to have people avoid this area.
Well, it should be obvious, but I'm glad you gave him the heads up as well. Thanks, Samantha. We'll check in with you in just a little bit. Wow. All right. So remember, folks, turn around, don't drown. It's obvious sometimes, but still some people trying to go for it. We're now going to go to Ed, who's at the tag board.
Yeah, you know, sometimes the water looks calm on the top, but then deep below, the water's moving pretty fast. So anytime you see water covering the road, turn around, don't drown. We can't say that enough. I want to show you some impressive video out of York Township Park in York County. This is near Spry. Look at that. Look at all of that water. This is a small creek, and you see that metal bridge? They installed a metal bridge 10 years ago because Lee took the wooden bridge that was there out when Lee came through more than 10 years ago. So that was recently taken, as flash flooding is still a pretty big issue down there. Also out towards Pittsburgh, 41 people rescued on this bus. They had to be rescued by boat because the bus got into some flash flood water. Luckily, everybody on the bus okay. And then down in Maryland, where we've seen a bigger severe weather threat today, check this out. This is very impressive. You can see this is a tornado, kind of hard to see, but you see the debris flying around? Yeah, it's picking up pieces of wood. I don't really know what the debris is. Could be parts of a house, but yeah, you can clearly see the debris flying through the air there, and the person that tweeted this, tornado going through downtown Annapolis. So that was just a few years ago. Our threat here, more or less the flooding, but there's still a severe weather threat, especially off to the south, that we're going to be monitoring, of course, through the evening. Back to you.
Yeah, we'll check in with you a little bit later on. So the Hershey area seeing a lot of standing water. Remember at the top of the show, we showed you that submerged baseball field. Well, CBS 21's Asia Tab is in downtown Hershey. So look at what it's like now. Asia.
Yeah, Joel D, right now, a lot of residents out here are not going by the turn around, don't drown. You can see right behind me. Right now, I'm on Cocoa Avenue along a shopping center, and the Giant shopping center is right next to me. Now, you can see cars just driving through, which is something that authorities have been urging, including Governor Wolf this morning, drivers not to do. Not only is it dangerous, but you can't even see the center line in the middle of the street. And you can see this car, they're going relatively fast. Whew, hopefully they make it home safe. Oh no, they're turning into the parking lot. And this way, let me move up closer this way. You can also see there's also waves that are coming this way. All the grass is full. And then we also witnessed a tree falling down across the street in that area that way. So again, if you're out, turn around, don't drown. Do not underestimate these floods and these waters on this here street. Joel D, sending it back to you in the studio.
All right, stay safe. And don't forget, folks, anytime that bad weather's coming your way, we have you covered with our free CBS 21 weather app. And you can find it on your phone's app store by searching CBS 21WX. Our Weather Warn Day coverage just getting started. This is the scene in New Cumberland as drivers try to navigate some standing water there as well. A look at some of the other potentially dangerous areas when we return. Well, now we're going to continue to check some other areas here. How about the local highways? CBS 21's Nick Volturo in the passenger seat right along 283, Lancaster County. What's it looking like out there, Nick?
Yeah, Joel D, riding shotgun over here. I'm going to give you a look right now at 283. We're over in Mount Joy headed towards Elizabethtown, but you can see right now the roads are actually, there's a lot of heavy rain right now that's coming down over here on the roads. And if you look in front of me, one of the most dangerous things you can do right now is not have your lights on in this kind of weather. Obviously, if the windshield wipers are on, the lights have to be on. The person in front of us does not have their lights on, which could obviously cause some problems if someone's trying to get over. We're seeing some visibility issues. Everyone seems to be going well below the speed limit right now, even though the speed limit is 65. Most people are traveling right about 45 to 50 miles an hour, trying to keep the speed limit. But that's really the biggest thing. There's a lot of, because of this weather, there's a little bit of fog, there's a little bit of haze, which makes visibility tough when all this water, splashing on the cars that are traveling. So obviously, if you're going to be on the roads, be very careful and still take it easy, because there's spots that are a lot heavier than in others. So that's it for now. Back to you.
For a look at the latest conditions, we now go to Michael Gorsinger, who's been following it all day long. Michael, how is it now?
Joel D, some pretty incredible scenes. In fact, we're right along, take care, man, good talking to you. We're right along Crits Creek Road. We've actually come north of Route 30 from where we were, and check out this water that literally has washed away Crits Creek Road as the creek is swelling. I mean, you can see it is just raging down the hill. Now, this is an area that's very much used to water. Again, this is washed away back in 2018, but you can see that the water is just making its way over the creek bed and now onto the road, spilling onto the road. And actually, you're seeing parts of that road give way here down, as you can see, kind of the dips, crevices, and valleys of the water as it runs through here. It's very intense, obviously, very difficult to even determine where the water is going to go next. Now, upstream here, there's a couple houses. They have access from the road that kind of runs up to our left right here. So Hayden, if you point that way, up to the left, everything's actually okay. They're able to get out of here. However, the houses that are a little bit further up on the right-hand side, they've actually had now their bridges that cross Crits Creek, they've actually had them washed away. So it's making for some difficult sledding for those people to get out. So keep in mind, if you jump off of 30, this is the Hellam exit. The road is closed. Again, very intense amount of water that's making its way through. The good news is the rain's letting up a little bit, but this creek water is continuing to rise. This road is closed, and things right now are only going to get worse from this point. I just took a ride up with PennDOT a few minutes ago to kind of check out the situation, and things are even worse as you go up Crits Creek Road. So if you are in this area, stay away, because this could go at any time. That's very latest from here in York County. Joel D, back to you.
Yes, we saw a lot of flooding earlier today, especially in places like Harrisburg. And now we're wondering what's happening as we enter the nighttime. So Nick Volturo had a place that was really high earlier today, but things are starting to change. Nick, what are you seeing?
Yeah, you're right, Joel D. Things are starting to change dramatically, actually. Even in the last hour, things have changed a lot. Now, just take a look. We're on Cameron Street right now. And if you take a look down the road itself, you can see there are still emergency crews out. There are still fire crews out, barricades straight up, and the roads are closed as the floodwaters are still very high. But as you come around, you can start seeing that the roads over here are starting to recede. The water isn't nearly where it was. Before, earlier today, it was up to your knees. Now you can see the pavement right here, and if you look across the street, the intersection on Hurst Street was closed just a little bit earlier. Now that is back open to traffic. Now, if you continue to take a look, these barricades have been set up to try to prevent traffic from going through the flood-covered roads, but unfortunately, that didn't stop everybody. Cameron Street underwater, but that didn't stop one daring driver from attempting to cross the heavily flooded road and skirt the barricades. As you can see, he managed to clear the deepest waters, but in the end, that bold move didn't pan out so well as his car got stuck and the driver in return got a real stern talking to by a PennDOT crew member who was nearby, trying to prevent this exact situation from happening by blocking the road from traffic. Now, PennDOT says this road is going to be able to open back up once Paxton Creek starts to recede and the water goes back down. Now, one thing that we have heard that it has been a plus is Fire Chief of Harrisburg, Brian Enterline, says while these areas have been really and severely impacted by flooding, a lot of the residential areas along in Harrisburg weren't really impacted at all. They were spared in this flood. But right now, you can see the water is starting to go down, the roads are receding, the flooding is receding, and it seems like the situation's going to only improve as we continue into the night. But that's it. Reporting here in Harrisburg, Nick Volturo, CBS 21 News.
All right, we want to hear some good news, and we got it from you, Nick. Thanks a lot. So some of the hardest hit spots when it comes to flooding was also in Cumberland County. That's where we find Andrea Finney tonight. And what are you looking at tonight out there, Andrea?
Well, Joel D, usually this park is known for its soccer and baseball fields, but if you'll take a look, you'll notice the floodwaters have overtaken this park. I want to step out of the way and give you some context. Now, this is near Yellow Breeches. It's just on the other side of the park. And because the creek is now past flood stage, which is about 7 feet, it's now overtaking the park and has risen to about 8.5 feet. And if you'll take a look at the bench back there, the water is what looks like maybe about 4 to 5 inches from the sea. That's how high that water is. And it'll probably get much higher, seeing as the creek is estimated to crest now at 11.5 feet. So we got another 3 feet to go. So it's safe to say this park will be closed at least bare minimum through tomorrow. Back to you.
Yeah, let's check out another part of our area now. As many as 30 people were evacuated from McSherrystown. We're looking at this borough right here from Adams County. Photographer Harrison Jones and the Hanover Evening Sun providing these pictures. First responders say a creek on the west side of town breached its banks, forcing people living in the nearby mobile home park and also some townhomes to get out. They're also getting assistance from the Red Cross tonight. As if flooding wasn't enough, guess what? The Philadelphia area also dealing with the aftermath of some tornado damage. Meteorologist Ed Russo has a look at some of that destruction. He's at our tag board tonight.
Yeah, you know, we were seeing stuff today that you'd see maybe out of the deep south or the central plains. This, what you're looking at right here, is a tornado in Mullica Hill, New Jersey. It's not just a small, weak tornado. This was a large, violent one, and you can see the tornado coming out of the tree line there. I mean, just very ominous. Here's another vantage point of the same tornado caught from a highway. Look, see that swirling motion? I mean, you can really see the rotation in that thing. Again, not something we see in New Jersey, not something we see in eastern Pennsylvania. So here's a still shot of that same tornado after it did its destruction when it went through Mullica Hill. I'll show you some of the damage. I mean, look at this. These are well-built homes. I mean, the tornado went through some subdivisions. I would be willing to guess that's easily EF3 damage, which would be considered a strong, violent tornado, and just total destruction in this one neighborhood. So New Jersey, even parts of eastern PA, not only cleaning up from flooding, but also some tornadoes. Fortunately, so far at least, I haven't heard of any fatalities or injuries. Hard to believe. That's a pretty populated area too. Joel D?
Certainly, yeah, and we saw a tornado just recently in that same area, so
Yeah.
kind of wild stuff today.
Can't catch a break.